Good morning, students. So, today I'm going to deliver a lecture on the sonnet by William Shakespeare, That time of year thou mayst in me behold. So, before beginning with the actual sonnet, I would like that you all must know something about William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare was an English poet, playwright, and actor. He was regarded as the greatest writer in English language and the world's greatest dramatist. He is often called as England's national poet or the Bard of Evan or simply the Bard. His works, which also include some of his collaborations, consist of a total of 39 plays, 154 sonnets, two long narrative poems, and few other verses, some of uncertain authorship, which means that we are not yet clear about their authorship, that whether he has written them or not. Important to know, his plays have been translated into every major living language that exists and are performed more often than those of any other playwright. So, the poem that we are going to discuss today is a sonnet. So, you must know what a sonnet is. Sonnet is a kind of a poem that is written in 14 lines, right? So, if I'll explain you simply what a sonnet is a poem that is written in 14 lines. Second trait is it is always written in iambic pentameter. It always employs a rhyme scheme, and most importantly, a sonnet always follows a tight, structured thematic organization, right? There is a very uh, structured way of writing a sonnet and presenting a theme through a sonnet. This name sonnet is taken from the Italian word sonetto, which means a little sound or a song. There are two sonnet forms that became the models for later sonnets that were written. दो ऐसे sonnets हैं जो हमारे लिए सबसे ज़्यादा important हैं. They were the Petrarchan sonnets and the Shakespearean sonnet. For you, it is only important to know a little about Shakespearean sonnet. Shakespearean sonnet is also known as the English sonnet, written in iambic pentameter again. Now, what is its structure? It has three quatrains and one couplet. When I say quatrain, one quatrain has four lines. So, Shakespearean sonnet always has three quatrains, which means 12 lines, plus a couplet. A couplet is of 2 lines. So, 12 plus 2 makes it 14. So, in the three quatrains that the Shakespearean sonnet has, the poet establishes a theme or a problem. He talks about a problem or he talks about his theme. And then that theme or problem is resolved in the final 2 lines, the couplet. Right? So in the quatrains, he will present a problem or a theme, and in the couplet is very important because it is like he presents his conclusion in the couplet. Right? So now let's come back to the sonnet. So in this poem or in this sonnet, the speaker invokes a series of metaphors. He will raise a series of metaphors. He will use some metaphors to characterize the nature of what he perceives to be his old age. बहुत सारे metaphors वो use करेगा to express the passing age. कैसे उसकी age pass on हो रही है from youth to middle age and then to old age and finally death, which he considers inevitable, right? So इस चीज को express करने के लिए he will use certain metaphors. So now it is again becomes important for you to know what a metaphor is. I will give you a simple example first. Suppose you want to say that life is very difficult, right? Instead of saying it in simple words that life is difficult, you use the word battlefield, right? Life is a battlefield. So when you say like that, you are using a metaphor. battlefield एक metaphor बन जाता है to express your feelings that something is very difficult, right? It's very challenging. So when you say life is battlefield, instead of saying life is difficult, you are using a metaphor. ठीक है, तो metaphor क्या हो गया? It is कोई भी ऐसा आइडिया, कोई वर्ड, कोई एक्टिविटी, कोई ऑब्जेक्ट जो आप यूज कर रहे हो जो किसी और चीज को सिंबलाइज करता है, right? So metaphor is a word or a phrase that is used as a symbol of something else. It is a word or a phrase for one thing that is used to refer to another thing. Battlefield आप use कर रहे हो, but it refers to difficulties in life in order to show or suggest that they are similar, that life is difficult, life is a battlefield. So, I hope the word metaphor is clear to you. So, in this poem, the poet will use a number of metaphors and he will express his own anxiety, his own fear over growing old. Each quatrain of Sonnet 73, this sonnet is also called as Sonnet 73 because Shakespeare, as I told you, has written a number of sonnets. Every sonnet has a number, right? So this sonnet, that time of the year thou mayest behold, is also called as Sonnet 73. Each quatrain means every 4 lines of this sonnets takes up this theme of passing years in a unique way. हर क्वार्ट्रेन में जो नरेटर है, he will compare the stages of his life to the passing time in nature. Seasons से, passing seasons, passing days and nights, उन चीजों से वो अपनी life के years को compare करे, right? So now we'll start with the first quatrain. That time of year thou mayest me behold, when yellow leaves or none or few do hang. Yellow leaves always symbolize autumn season. Upon those boughs which shake against the cold, bare, ruined choirs, where late the sweet birds sang. So in the first quatrain, the speaker tells the beloved, his beloved, that his age is like late autumn. When the leaves have almost turned yellow, they have fallen from the trees, the weather has become very cold, the birds have left their branches, right? So initially he is telling his beloved that his age is like late autumn. When the leaves have completely fallen, they have turned yellow, the weather has become very cold, birds have left, there is loneliness, he is maturing in his age, he's passing off his youth days. Youth symbolizes um, youth can be symbolized in the form of greenery on trees, new leaves, new flowers, blossoming of flowers. जब ये सब कुछ खत्म हो जाता है तब autumn season आता है. When your youth finishes, the leaves fall off, right? They turn yellow. So he compares himself to late autumn season in the first quatrain. He is compared to nearly bare tree branch shivering in the cold, right? So his youth has come to an end and he's at that time of the year जब उसका youth has ended, right? So now let's come. So in the first quatrain, he compares himself to the autumn season, to falling of the leaves, to coming of the winter season. In the second quatrain, let's read it. In me, thou seest the twilight of such day, as after sunset fade in the west, which by and by black night doth take away, death's second self, that seals up all in rest. So this quatrain 2 makes life still shorter. Earlier in the previous quatrain, he talked about seasons, right? Now he is talking about hours of the day, twilight, right? The narrator is at the twilight of his life. Twilight is the time when sun has set. ठीक है, आप अपने जो वाइब्रेंट ईयर्स होते हैं, जो यूथ होती है, उसको कंपेयर करते हो टू द टाइम व्हेन सन राइजेस, dawn, right? So but now the writer is comparing himself, his time, his life to twilight, when sun has set, and the death is soon to come upon it. जब sunset होता है उसके बाद क्या आता है? Night. Night always symbolizes death. So he says that he is at the twilight of his life. The sun has set and soon he will face death. Right? First stanza mein he compared himself to autumn season. Now he is comparing himself to hours, to twilight, when sun has set. He is near to death. Right? So in the second metaphor that he uses here is that of twilight. The time when the day's last light is still present in the sky, but dark night is imminent. Twilight के time पे light जरूर होती है sky पे, right? But किस चीज की सर्टेनिटी होती है कि वेरी सून नाइट विल कम. सो ही सेज ही इज एट ट्विलाइट पे है वो, जब कुछ वाइब्रेंसी है उसकी लाइफ में, बट सून इट इज, दिस इज आल्सो श्योर कि उसके ही विल फेस डेथ. सो ये जो लाइट है, दैट सिंबलाइजेस वाइटैलिटी, अट्रैक्टिवनेस, विट, नंबर ऑफ अदर क्वालिटीज, राइट, दैट हैड कम टू हिम एंड गॉन. Everything is going to get darker from now on. He is losing his youth, he is losing all the qualities that he had, right? Why? Because he is going towards death in life. So in the third quatrain, he says, in me thou seest the glowing of such fire, that on the ashes of his youth doth lie. As the deathbed whereon it must expire, consumed with that which it was nourished by. So in the third metaphor, he uses the metaphor of fire. He compared himself to dying fire. Once again, here the connection between old age and death is made explicit. The fire is on its deathbed, and it must expire. जो fire थी within him when he was young, now that is extinguishing, that is coming to an end. So so death is on its firebed means that death will extinguish soon, it will expire soon, suggesting that the speaker is also near its expiration डेथ. जो यहाँ पे मेटाफर जो यूज हुआ है, दैट मेटाफर इज ऑफ डाइंग फायर, फायर जो अभी बुझ रही है. सो द स्पीकर इज ऑल्सो एट दैट पॉइंट इन हिज लाइफ व्हेन द फायर विद इन हिम इज extinguishing, means that he is getting closer to his death, his expiration date. Now the couplet, as I told you, couplet में हमेशा वो conclusion present करता है. In the similar manner, he says, this thou perceivest which makes thy love more strong, to love that well which thou mayst leave along. So the poem's couplet, the last two lines, suggests that the poem's addressee, his beloved, addressee होता है जिसको वो poem सुना रहा है, जिसके लिए ये poem है. Even after knowing that now the poet is near his death, he has reached his old age, he is aged. Even after knowing all these, this addressee, his beloved, still loves him. The addressee sees that the speaker is aging and also knows that this process cannot be reversed. Death is inevitable. Everybody has to die. Even after knowing this thing, she loves him, right? However, accepting the speaker's approaching death makes the addressee's love for the speaker more strong. ये जो realization है that the speaker will die very soon someday. He has shed his leaves. He has become old now. Even after realizing all these things, the addressee, who is the poet's beloved, still loves him, and this love's become more strong. In other words, none of these signs of aging matter when genuine love is involved. This is what the poet wants to convey to you in the couplet. Although throughout the poem he is using these dark images, he's saying that his youth has ended, his attractiveness is expired, he no longer has those qualities that he had earlier in his youthful days. But he says that none of these things matter when love is genuine, right? The love will get stronger with age, and that love is made all the more precious by its inevitable loss. So I hope now the poem is clear. In the first quatrain, he used the metaphor of the autumn season. In the second, he uses the metaphor of twilight and night. In the third, he uses the metaphor of dying fire. And in the couplet, he concludes by saying that it does not matter to the beloved that whether the poet is coming to his old age. The love, if it is genuine, will not be affected by all these signs. Thank you. This was with your poem. I hope it is clear to you. I'll see you in the next lecture. Thank you.